All right, look, I'm going to cut to the chase here. Weston once again forgot to do his intro. Look, I'm not going to point fingers, but I already said his name, so I guess I'm going to point fingers. But either way, you're listening to Profoundish. Today's going to be a fun one. Weston and I kind of talk about all kinds of stuff. We talk about brothels and how a lot of people apparently search for them in Australia. And then we go on to talk about Weston's fun trip up to Chicago to see the Veronicas. And he tells his tale of the girl that he danced with that he'll never see again. And then, after the break, we rank some video game franchises. We always love talking games, so this is really a good one overall. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to Profoundish. There's this little shop in a different
horrors?
Excuse me?
Of horrors, not horse.
I mean, there's probably a shop of horrors somewhere, but I'm looking in those
right?
shops.
Am I little
yes.
shop of horrors? That's like a movie or something.
Yes,
not
it
crazy,
is.
Right?
No, that's real. Yeah.
I was about to
there's
Google
probably
and find out if I was Mandelaing myself.
there's probably also a little shop of horrors too, though. I mean,
It's
how
called
could there
a
not
brothel.
be? Exactly.
I'm gonna type it. That's my hand. Little shop of horrors.
Well, come on, you know what you're gonna get. Don't share your
There's
screen.
an IMDb for Little Shop of Horrors from 1987.
Wow.
It's a 4.4 out of 10, 20 votes.
You should go onto Google Trends and see if anyone's like looking up like brothels near me. I would
Little
love
Shop
to
of
know
Horrors
if
is
anyone's...
an X-rated film. This is not a
Oh,
joke.
sure.
It is actually porn.
Oh,
Google,
sure.
What am I looking at? No, I
just think
had to look. Google Trends.
I just think, do you think anyone's looking up the term brothel other than to like learn what that word means if they don't know what it means? Like, is anyone like looking it up commercially? Like, are there any brothels in my area?
Brothels near me.
Exactly.
This is interest over time. What's the period that I'm looking at? This is how many people search for the word brothel today. There was a spike today at 5:30 in the morning.
I mean, I guess that kind of checks out.
It seems kind of early to me.
Or really late.
This is just today. And I say 5:30 in the morning. I assume that's in my time. But the biggest spike was in Nevada. I don't remember how to say Nevada. It's Nevada, right?
Yes.
My brain has been melted by like YouTube or something. I keep saying Nevada. I say Nevada all the time. I'm like, is that British? Where did I get Nevada?
It's regional. I learned this moving to a different region. So I know people in the South say Nevada. I've always, but I know that because when I heard it, I thought this is wrong because we've always said Nevada. Yeah. And then, however, in the West where Nevada is, they say Nevada. So
good.
That's the correct way to say it. If they say Nevada,
I need to
we
keep
should
saying
say Nevada.
Nevada. I always say Nevada, and I stop, and I'm like, where? Nevada.
There's a reason. There's a reason why you were stopping yourself. Yeah.
I don't know where I picked that up, but I keep using it.
Regional. Yep.
I'm not from the South, so I don't know why I picked that up. But anywho, related topics: human trafficking. Oh, that's not good. Deadwood. I don't know how that's related. Documentary, opera genre.
Can you type in?
We're going down a weird direction.
I know, but this is fun though. One more thing. Can you just type in brothels near me, that particular phrase, and see if anyone searches that?
Sure. I will say before I do, under related queries, brothel candles is a search query.
I wonder if
I don't
brothel's
know what
the
that
brand.
means.
It's an interesting brand.
All right, how do I go
I
back?
just love the idea of just like some lonely dude, let's just say in
Brothels
Nevada, and he's
here.
like, there's got to be a brothel somewhere, right? Like, there's got to be one nearby. Like, using that term.
I have no data to show in the past day, but let's go to the past, year? 5 years?
5 years.
5 years. Are we doing United States or worldwide or?
Should we let's open it up as big as we can just to see if we can find something. Worldwide.
All right. All categories, web search, interest over time. Here we go. It's on the decline, but it's there.
Okay, so people pre-pandemic were more interested in finding brothels in their area. Sounds like.
I will say we're talking about like 100 searches or less at any given day.
Right, okay. I know, that's
So
still
I
kind
will
of
say
a
it's
lot.
not a lot of people when you're talking about worldwide, though.
Yeah, that's true. It's a lot of
But
people.
when you break it down interest by region, the most often, the location that searched for that the most often was Australia. By a lot.
I wonder if that word is still more commonly used there.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know enough about Australia, so I couldn't say.
It says that the Australia is 100. I don't know what 100 means. People, percent, I don't know. But then the second place is New Zealand at 8.
Okay. Well, I can tell you what the numbers are.
Big jump.
The numbers are just like on a scale of excitement. So 100 is, it's just kind of like, well, that's maybe the wrong word to use, but the most popular time. It's very vague, but it's not like 100 people, 100 searches. It's just like on a scale of 0 to 100, this is when the most interest was happening. That's what the 100 means.
So Australia is very interested. Everyone else, not so much. That's what I'm hearing.
Interesting. Well, any Australians listening, let us know if there are brothels near you, and if so, how was your experience? Let us know.
You know, they're all going to Google it now to find out if there are.
I know, you're right. Could you
Making
imagine
the situation worse?
What if we have so much pull with Profoundish that Google Trends, after this comes out, even in the United States, is like up to 100 for like brothels near me?
I want to say that under related queries, the first most related query was brother near me.
So there's
like someone auto-corrected brothel into brother.
That's even funnier. Because that's exactly what that is. Because there's no other correlation there. That is funny.
And then the second most is Lecanto. I don't know what that's just. Maybe that's just a foreign word. And then the third one is the one that I expected to be higher, was, are brothels legal? Because I could see people actually Googling that.
Right. That's fair.
But then number 4, for some reason, is brothels Liverpool.
So there's brothels in Liverpool?
That's what people are searching? I don't know. I'd have to Google it to find out.
All right, Weston, we're going to England.
I just think it's weird that Australia is number 1, but like there's no, it's not like brothels in Sydney. You know what I mean? It's Liverpool. Can you imagine all the Australians are Googling what brothels are there in Liverpool?
Yeah, I know. Who knows?
Liverpool.
Who knows? I think there's something bigger here that we don't know about. So
there's a lot here going on that I don't know about.
Well, there's something that you do know about, Weston, that I want to ask you about.
Okay.
I see your shirt. For those of you who are listening, I'll explain. Weston's got his...
This is not brothel related.
It's not brothel related. It's a Veronicas shirt.
Hey!
Why don't you tell us about that?
I went to the Veronicas concert in Chicago a couple days ago as of recording this. We talked about it a little bit, I think, on the Patreon.
Yeah.
So there's a little short episode over on patreon.com/Profoundish.
Yeah, we talked about concerts.
I talked about... Yeah, I was talking about going soon. Well, now I've gone and I'm back, and I thought I'd go ahead and wear my Veronica shirt that I picked. I like to look. I don't get out too much. So if I go to a venue, if I go to a place, if I go to a thing, I want to get some kind of merch, right? A little memento.
That's cool. It's like I was there,
This was my second choice of shirt. The first choice was actually already sold out by the time I got there. All I had left was small, and I'm like, that's not going to work. But that's okay, because I like this one too. And I didn't have anywhere to keep it or store it. I didn't have a bag or anything on me, so I just wore it there. I was very warm.
Oh, sure.
Because it's getting warmer out or whatever. And we were inside. We were at the House of Blues in Chicago.
Oh, yeah. I've been there numerous times. That's always a fun venue. How was the show? Tell me about it.
The show was good. It was over before I knew it. unfortunately, because I was just having a good time. It's like, oh, I wish this went another hour. We needed another hour to go. I was just partying it up. You know, I wasn't familiar with the opening act. What was her name? Jessie Joestar, Jessie Joe, something like that.
Okay.
Was the opening act. So I wasn't familiar with her stuff. She was pretty good, and she was pretty good. But there was a marked difference in energy between like everyone in the pit that was like watching the show during her opening act versus when the Veronicas came on stage. Marked shift in energy. It was actually kind of wild to watch. I was kind of hanging out in the back. I was actually hanging out behind the sound booth, just kind of like enjoying a drink during the opening act or whatever. So I got to see everyone's like shift in energy over that.
Well, did you go down to the pit though?
I did. I wandered down to the pit. I was getting in there, dude.
That's cool, man. Good for you. That's fun.
I was in there having a good time. They were playing a lot of because it's their gothic summer tour, which is their new album that just came out in March. And so they had a couple of songs from there, or they may have played the whole thing. I wasn't paying attention to whether or not they skipped any or not. But they were also playing what I was trying to get to. They were also playing some of their older stuff, their more popular stuff that they've done in the past. And it was a really good show. And they had their moments in between where they kind of like talked a little bit about stuff. And it was great to see them in person.
That's awesome, man.
And by the end of it, I had a couple too many drinks and was partying too hard, and I was dancing with this girl at the end of the show, and I don't remember what the hell we were doing. We were doing some moves or whatever back and forth. It was like it reminded me of if you were there. No, it reminded me of in middle school. You know, the first time everyone discovers like middle school dances, and so like there were people out on the floor trying to break dance.
Yes.
I had a moment where I was transported back in time because I tried to do like a thing and I fell and I went down on my knees and I'm like, I'm break dancing in middle school again. And I hit my knees and when I got back up, I'm like, but I'm not that young anymore.
No. Oh, that's funny. That's good.
So my knees were sore the next day because I broke it down and got too low. I pop locked and dropped it too hard at the Veronicas concert.
You pop locked and broke it.
It was pretty good.
Did you? Was there any spark, or was it just a dancing partner?
It was just we were vibing. We were vibing. Yeah. Although, and I was wondering about this. Like it wasn't like it. There wasn't much. It was just a little thing, right? Mm-hmm. I'm wondering where she came from though, because she sounded like she had some kind of Australian thing going on. We were talking about Australia. So this is hilarious. Oh, and speaking about Australia, the Veronicas are from Australia, if you didn't know. So they're Australian. Right. And this girl, at the end of this like thing, she sounded like she had an accent. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm just making this up in my head or not. I'm like, surely she didn't travel from Australia to come see the Veronicas in America. That's wild. But anyway,
right.
I have no idea if that's what happened or not.
Well, and I know the whole time you're thinking, I wonder if she knows where the brothels are at. I know what you were thinking.
Yeah, does she know? Does she know?
Does she know about the brothels at Liverpool? Exactly. You know what I'm thinking? If that's true, if she's Australian or she's from Australia, maybe it was one of those things where it's like, hey, you know what? I've always wanted to visit the United States. Chicago's a very popular city. This would be a great chance to visit a new city in a new country, but also see a band I'm familiar with. Who knows? That's possible.
Could be. It could also just be that she just literally lives in Chicago. She's like, oh, but I know who the Veronicas are because they're from Australia. It could have just been that.
Hey, you said you had a little too much to drink, so maybe she didn't speak that way at all. You were just hearing that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, did I make that up? But I think that's what it sounded like to me. I'm just saying.
You know, if one of the first things you said was that the concert kind of it went by quick. And it was over before you knew it.
It was over before you knew it. I was like, oh, man.
That's the sign of a good show, though. That means you were there, you were present, you're having a good time, and you're vibing. Because any show that I've been to that it's in my top shows are always ones where I was like, what, that's it? It's over? Because you just get lost in it. And it's nothing like it. So good for you. I'm glad you had a good time.
I wasn't going to have a bad time. I was like, well, I'm here to have a good time. So...
no matter what.
Whatever happened, I'm here to have a good time.
Could you imagine, like, something goes wrong in the pit, somebody breaks their leg, there's fire in the streets, and you're like, nope, I'm gonna have a good time.
That would have been me. I'm the one that goes in, breaks their leg, and starts a fire in the streets. That would have been me.
It is funny because I'll tell you this as someone who's been to quite a few concerts. It's the pit really changes depending on the band you see, as you can imagine. Just like you said, from the opening act to the main act. Mm-hmm. I've been to one metal show in the pit. I've been in the pit in one metal show, and that is scary. It's just scary. For me, it is
I can
not
believe
fun.
that.
People get hurt. People are. It's a lot of metal's angry, right?
Yeah, metal's a lot more like. I'm going to use the word violent, but I don't necessarily mean the people are violent. But I feel like it's a lot more aggressive.
The music is extremely aggressive.
Enjoyment of the music. If that, I don't know. I feel like you could get some elbows, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah. Well, we actually had a mutual classmate of ours in high school. I remember this, and he went to see the same band I saw, but I wasn't at that show. But he had his nose broken in the pit because there was somebody got in a fight next to him, and he was just trying to get out, but he was stuck. He was in the middle of the pit, and there was a huge elbow to the nose. And
imagine going to a concert where unanimously everybody there, the reason you're there is because you're all a fan of this band. You all have something in common, and you get into a fight? Why? Why are we fighting? What's happening?
Right.
There was none of that, as far as I'm aware, at the Veronicas concert. We were all just vibing. It was all just a vibe.
And I was going to say, I've only seen that at hard rock metal shows where people get kind of more angry and push each other around. That's a thing. But most shows I've been to where I've been in the pit, which I've only been in the pit a handful of times, it's kind of like what you said, vibing. I'm really awkward, though, so I vibe in my own way. But yeah, I have trouble vibing with others, even if they want to vibe with me, just because I'm awkward. But I just love the music.
That's what the overpriced drinks are for.
I know. You're right. You're right. That's when I can meet the Australian.
That's what I'm saying. You think that would have happened to me if I was just in a corner somewhere? No. Get out in it.
Get a couple
drinks.
You don't
need to drink to do that. I'm just saying that can loosen you up.
Yeah, that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. We talked about that in our 3-year-old episode about parties. Remember going to parties? We talked about that, loosening up.
You say nothing wrong with that, except for the $18 beers. Good freaking God.
Is that true? $18 for a beer?
There was the domestic was 16 and the import was 18. And I'm like, what? And then the mixed drinks were 18 and 20. And I'm like, well, you might as well go mixed.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I know. I was like, one, I mean, you're already paying Chicago prices for alcohol, so that's going to be a lot anyway. And then two, I was like, well, I guess they know you're trapped here because if you left, you can't get back in. So it's
that's wild. I know that on here in Memphis on Beale Street, especially on the weekends, I noticed this because I've been there on the weekends where it's really busy, a lot of tourists, right? It's really, really popular down there. And, there's a lot of bands playing, a lot of people. And, I can't remember what the amount is exactly, but, if I wanted to get just, a shot of, Jack or something, just, nothing fancy, just you want a shot of Jack, right? Just to get a little something in your system, right? It's, usually, $9 or something, or $8, right? Okay, and then, but I remember one time, this is, a time I took a couple friends down there, and we were drinking a little bit, and it was probably obvious that we were drinking. So that's my theory. And we went in there and asked for the same bar and everything, the same bar on the street, on the strip. And it was $17. And it was on a weekend night, just like the first time I went. And I'm assuming what they do is one of those things where it's kind of they're drinking, they won't know the difference, whatever. $17. I'm serious. Maybe. I bet you that's what they do. Because
you gotta watch you gotta always be aware.
We didn't we ended up not getting the drinks, $17. I was like, yep. It's no, I don't know about, so we ended up getting
that's when you go, else. You look them dead in the face and say, I'll pay you $8.
Right. I'll pay you what you actually usually charge for it. So
come on, don't you screw me. I know what this is.
Did they have water bottles there at the venue? And how much were those if they were?
They might have. I didn't look.
They
probably did for someone that needed water, and I'm sure it was too much. But
I remember spending $9 for a bottle of water, an average bottle of water at a Coldplay concert in Indiana. I'll never forget it. $9. And it's like it was some like not even it wasn't even like Aquafina. It was just some off-brand water for $9. You're trapped.
Well, I was
like
gonna say Aquafina is a really basic water. That's what I was gonna say. It was like Aquafina or just
maybe that's a bad example. It wasn't like
because like
Fuji
Smart Water or Fiji or the more popular,
Fiji,
a little bit more premium.
But
water, it's all the same to me. Water is water to me. All the bottled waters taste the same. I feel like maybe some of the waters, maybe you can taste the bottle more, but I don't think the water is actually different. But that's me.
It's water. And we've got like 11 different brands of water. We got more than that.
It's all just to me it's all just water. If it's water out of a bottle, it's all the same to me. Yeah. If it's water out of a bottle versus water out of a tap, it depends on where you're at. The tap could have stuff in it. I grew up on well water. There's lots of stuff in the well. If you were in a city water, you get that sort of chlorine or whatever you get out of whatever is in it, fluoride. Yeah. Hopefully not chlorine. Maybe chlorine? I don't think you're supposed to drink chlorine. I don't know what they put in water.
Maybe
all I know
amounts,
is you can taste the difference there.
Right.
But bottled water is all the same to me.
Point is, you dance with an Australian who probably knows where the brothels are in Liverpool at a Veronicas concert.
Probably.
That's pretty cool.
That is that is in fact the point. You're right. And I got to ride in a Tesla.
Do tell? How did this happen?
It was just the Uber driver drove a Tesla. He was in this
cool. So
he was in this swanky blue suit and he drove a Tesla.
Nice.
And it was way too small. I don't know if the seat was like raised up or whatever, but my head was like touching the ceiling. I'm like, that's not normal.
Was that your first time in a Tesla?
Yes.
Well, that's cool. Okay.
I mean, it was nice. I mean, it was an Uber driver. He had that giant like Tesla monitor with the like map on it, GPS and all that stuff.
They're huge. I've only been in one once myself. An old coworker had one and they took me around in it, and it was interesting. They had this. I remember the only thing I remember from that, other than them like showing me how quickly it goes from 0 to 60, which scared me.
We didn't do that.
Besides that, they show me like how good the sound system is apparently. And there was this weird gag, like fart noise machine thing on there. I don't know if you've ever seen this. No. I know it sounds like I'm making it up. I promise I'm not. Basically,
I believe you, but why?
There's a bunch of weird sound effects that you can play. It's almost like a demo. And what it does is like it plays random fart noises in different corners of the vehicle. And so just to kind of show, look how wide the surround is in this car. And I ended up not paying attention to that and just listening to how funny it sounded that there was a bunch of random fart noises playing in there. It's a real thing. I don't know. I don't know why.
If you can control that from the driver's seat or whatever, if no one's paying attention, you can try to like pull it off like someone farted in the car. Like I'm gonna make it seem like the person in the back right seat is like farting, and you click a button, and everyone's like, Tony, hey, Tony ripped a fat one. And Tony's like, no, I didn't rip nothing. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's right. It's always Tony. Tony's always the ripper.
Frickin' Tony.
Tony the ripper. Tony. Did you stay in Chicago? Or did you drive up and drive back down?
I stayed a night.
I figured you did when you mentioned the driver and everything like that.
Yeah.
You do hotel, Airbnb? What's your flavor?
My brother's girlfriend's apartment.
Oh, cheaper.
Because he was up too.
Okay.
So that worked out super well. Yeah.
That's nice.
So that worked. Yeah, that worked out super well. She's in a neat location. It's close to a lot of different food. So it's not like downtown, but it's like in town.
Right.
So,
cool. Okay. I forgot that she lived there. That's cool. Awesome.
Yeah. Worked out super well. We're hanging out on the river walk outside the House of Blues until the show started. So we were just hanging out at the river.
Fun.
There were so many people and so many people walking their dogs. And that was interesting to watch. People interact with other people's animals or not. Like you could tell like which pets were like more favored. Like there was this like Dalmatian puppy that everyone was like freaking out over, and then other animals no one seemed to like care about. It was just kind of like really interesting.
Were you like, when you first encountered animals that you'd see, were you like placing bets with yourself to see like, okay, I know this dog's going to be one that gets a lot of attention? Like no, I'd start playing that little game with myself.
It was just one of those things that like there were just so many people that I started just kind of like watching what kind of owners own what kind of dogs, which is always funny.
Yeah.
Like the little tiny purse-sized dogs that are just like upper middle-aged women walking them versus like these much like medium-sized to large-sized dogs that are either puppies or still clearly very young are these other really young owners.
It's always young couples.
Like,
yep. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was just like that sort of like the stereotypes there, and then the different people. Actually, I kept like people watching whether or not people were on dates or couples or whatever. That was actually a really fun one too. I think this guy was on a date with either first date or pretty early on is what my guess was, because she sat down and. Again, I'm just people watching, so don't think I'm a creep. I'm just sitting there, people watching everybody. But she sits down. Well, it sounds weird when I'm like, so I was watching this girl. Anyway, so she sits down at this table, and she gets on her phone. She kind of like looks around, and I'm like, she's waiting for somebody. And I was right. She kept checking her phone, and she's at this table. There's 2 seats, just her. Eventually, finally, this guy shows up. And there's a coffee shop just in eyesight or whatever. He comes with 2 coffees or whatever, sits down. They say whatever they say to each other. And as they're putting the coffees down, he knocks hers off the table and immediately spills it everywhere.
Oh, no.
I'm like, oh, no. He's
first date.
He's losing it. He's losing her.
Yep.
And he had to go back and go get another one.
He's got like, people in the earpiece. Okay, hey, pull out, get out. Go, you gotta go, abort. He ruined it. Mission failed.
I know. Then they sat and they chatted for a while or whatever. I think other than that it went well or whatever. But I just thought it was funny that it was like immediately, like he had just brought them and then knocks it over.
Like imagine,
so
assuming this is their first date, right? Like just imagine feeling what he's feeling in that moment, especially if it was
panic.
Like, exactly. Like, oh my gosh, like if we were really hitting it off, I'll go get us a couple coffees, and you go and I feel that embarrassment. It's like, but honestly, if they work out, that's a story to tell for life.
Yeah.
So
maybe it helps him stand out more. The other one that I was more worried about was there's this little table with just the one chair, and this lady sits down at it. And I don't think much of it. I'm just watching people. So I see her, and she's sitting there, and then I'm like chatting with like my brother or Paula, or I'm looking at other people or whatever. Mm-hmm. Eventually, after some time, I look back to where that lady was sitting, and she's gone, but her bag is still in the chair. And I'm like, I look around, and I can't see this lady anywhere. And this is the Riverwalk. It's busy. Lots of people.
Yeah.
It's Chicago. Not exactly a small town to just be like, oh, no one will touch my bag. No one's going to just take that and run. No, someone could. Someone very easily could. I'm looking around, I'm like, is this a see something, say something situation? I'm like,
right.
I'm like, we're not in an airport, but it's busy.
Yeah.
She did eventually come back. I don't know if she just went to the bathroom and was that trusting with her bag, but I was looking around like, is this it? What's in the bag?
That's a weird feeling too. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I hope this is a drug drop and not a bomb. That's all I'm hoping for. Between the two.
Yeah. That's a tough one because the see something, say something. Because what if the off chance that somebody swipes it, right, or whatever, and it really is just someone taking a bag? It's like you watched that whole thing happen. You knew, you know what I mean? It's like, what do you do? Like, seriously, what do you do? Because you don't know what that guy's got. Or girl. Could be a girl.
I don't know what's going, didn't know what was going on. And it was funny, too, because I was also in that headspace because I was making fun of this one lady that she looked so out of place. It's a nice day out. She's walking down the Riverwalk, decked out in this, like, kind of bright, like, big blue overcoat type thing that's, like, made out of that felt material or whatever it is. Big overcoat, big giant sunglasses. She stops at some point. She's walking down the Riverwalk, and she stops, and she's looking up, like she's looking at buildings or whatever. I'm like, she's a secret agent. 100%. That's a spy. She's from somewhere. She's got that look. She's from, like, Eastern Europe or something like that. She is a spy, and she's looking for her target. She doesn't belong here. She doesn't look like anyone else here. Everyone else, because it's a nice day. People are in their like crop tops and shorts. Some people just straight up shirtless or joggers. Yeah. This lady, big blue like winter coat thing, and I'm like, 100% a spy, 100% a secret agent from like Russia that all they know is cold.
Right. What if there's a correlation? What if there's a correlation from the person who's going to steal that bag? Who knows? There
Right?
could have been a tie that you didn't know about. Yeah, there could be some sort of tie.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm already in that headspace. Like, what is going on? What is going down on the Riverwalk today?
These are things coming from two small town boys that it's really exciting. And that's why people watching is fun for people like us, because I do it too anytime I'm in like a heavily populated area, because you just kind of look into like little elements of the human experience, that you just don't always see, especially at a grand scale like that. It's cool. I'm totally with you. It's fun to tell little stories and take guesses and all that. I do it too.
It's great if you happen to be a writer too, because then you could come up with ideas and you can like, just squirrel out one away in the back of my head for an idea later.
When you're an artist or a creative or a writer, you can find the art in those things, right? It's just it's kind of similar to being able to just step outside or go through a walk in the forest with no phone, just kind of no headphones, and just kind of looking at everything. You can find the beauty and the art in seeing a bird go from one tree to another, or a leaf falling or whatever. You're kind of open to those things. Similar with human interaction. If you really look at it for what it is, instead of just kind of take it for granted as something we all do, if you kind of really examine it, it's interesting, and it can definitely produce art and creative thoughts and stuff. So,
Alex?
Yes, sir.
I didn't really...
I felt it, so I wanted to wrap it up.
I have no way to segue this. This is impossible to segue. There's no way I can do it. Today's topic, there's no real topic. I knew I was going to talk about the concert, and then whatever else came. I didn't know we were going to talk about brothels for a hot minute. But
yeah, that was fun.
We did that. Our next segment is about video games. We're going to be tier listing some video game franchises just for fun. I just thought it'd be fun to talk about some video games. We talked about some video games in the Patreon too. So patreon.com/Profoundish. Another little shout out there. We talked about some Roller Coaster Tycoon earlier, and just so coincidentally, we're going to talk about some more video games in a tier list form after the break. Profoundish is brought to you in part by Magic Man Mo, a gaming YouTube channel run by me. We stream and we do variety Let's Plays. Check out a short stream compilation to see if it's something that you're going to be into. It's a lot of fun. I made it, so I know. That's Magic Man Mo on YouTube.
Profoundish is brought to you in part by Alex Duquette Medleys. I make theme song medleys, which is where I take a bunch of theme songs and mash them up into one bite-sized song. From Nickelodeon to Adult Swim, I cover it all. So, if you want to take a fun nostalgic trip, search my name, Alex Duquette, on YouTube, or go to alexduquette.net. It's art! There's beauty in it, Weston. There just is.
There's beauty in art. There's art and beauty. And
there's brothels in Liverpool.
There's brothels in Liverpool. Welcome back, everybody.
I love it.
We're tier listing. I just stole this off Tier Maker. There's a zillion tiers. I'm going to ask you, Alex, should we simplify this, or do you want to get this granular? This tier list goes masterpiece, very good, good, above average, mid, below average, not good, horrible, trash, never played. You think we should get rid of some of those? Dumb it down a little bit?
I think we should, because, yes, I think we should.
Okay. I think we're going to get rid of maybe horrible, and we'll keep trash. Sure.
Okay.
Right. And then we'll...
Yeah, not good to try. I think that's fair, yeah.
And then we'll probably get rid of very good, and we'll just keep masterpiece and good. Right?
Okay.
Does that seem...
Well, honestly...
Or no?
No, that's fine. Why don't we do, because, I feel like... Hold on. I think you should get rid of not good for sure.
Okay. Get rid of not good.
Below average and then trash.
Okay.
I think. I think that's fine. Now that I think about it, right? Can you zoom in a little bit, like your browser?
Oh, probably.
Because I can't make this any bigger screen for me.
How's that? Better?
That's better. Yeah, I know we can't see all the games, but that's fine.
There we go. You can see.
Yeah, that should be good.
Just this giant freaking advertisement. There we go. I can get rid of that apparently.
There you go.
Heck yeah, I'm sure it'll come back. But anyway, now we've got masterpiece,
Right.
good, above average, mid, below average, trash. We don't really have a bad. We're just trash is bad. And then we have a never played if we've never played. I think that's pretty good because
Yep,
that's kind of like
fair.
S, A, B, C, D, F, and then never played. So that works out. That works out pretty well.
Yeah, I like that. I like it.
For those of you unfamiliar, we're fans of video games. We've played some video games in our time, and we've done a tier maker of individual video games before. I have that list somewhere. I need to go over it and review it again. So this is a different list of specifically franchises, and maybe down the road I'll like combine franchises and video games together, and we'll have like an Excel sheet somewhere. Not an Excel, like a Google sheet somewhere. That'll be a thing I do in the future.
I will say eventually, this is cool, let's do it, but I would love to eventually go through that epic list. I was thinking about that today, funny enough, so it's funny that we're doing this. That epic list of like every video game basically there is in that big tier list. So if we can find that, that would be awesome.
I've got it somewhere.
And just go slowly plug away at it.
Worst case scenario, I'll re-find them from the episode so we know what we've already done, and we'll just keep doing video games.
Right.
But to start us off today, we've got Street Fighter as a franchise. Have you played Street Fighter before?
Yes, I own a few Street Fighters. I got Street Fighter 2. Can't remember what the other one I have. I think it's in a box in a different room. But yes, I have. My most experience is from 2, which is on the Super Nintendo. And I'm assuming the Genesis too, but I have it on the Super Nintendo. It's a great game. I haven't played like the new one that came out kind of recently. It's because Street Fighter really is like either you're a fan of fighting games and you love Street Fighter or you kind of don't. And it's very niche, right? There's fighting games in general. But from my experience playing the older ones, it's a lot of fun and kind of my go-to like fighting game. If I were to choose between that or like Mortal Kombat or whatever, I'd prefer Street Fighter just personally. Or like, I mean, I loved Tekken too back in the day, but yeah, but that being said, I wouldn't say that I loved it. It's not my number one kind of game.
Gotcha.
You know, but it was good of what I played. I don't know. What about you? What's your experience?
My fighting games experience in general, I'd never owned very many, and I don't think I ever owned a Street Fighter game. I think I've played one in an arcade, I'm pretty sure, at one point in time. I'm familiar with what the franchise is, and I think I've only ever played them in an arcade, and not very often. My experience with fighting games is like Virtua Fighter. Like I grew up, I played Virtua Fighter, and I played a little bit of Tekken. I had a Tekken game on the Game Boy that I would play. Street Fighter somehow was no. I know,
great game though.
It was good. Very difficult. But I don't have a lot of experience with Street Fighter. I know people like it, and like you, I never played the newer one. I do appreciate what they try to do with the newer game. They have like an open world you can wander around or whatever.
I saw that.
They try to make it accessible, I think, to people that aren't like just strictly straight up fighting games people. The other fighting games, Soul Calibur was another one that I played a bit of.
Oh yeah, I loved Soul Calibur.
Soul Calibur was good. And then I had that Deadliest Warriors game that was like a fighting game based on that
was
TV
fun too.
show.
We played that a few times.
So somehow, like I've played all the little bit more niche fighting games. Soul Calibur is maybe not niche, but like it's more niche ones than Street Fighter. You know, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and I guess Tekken. But Street Fighter, I want to just say, I don't know. I think you've got a little bit more experience with it than me. Would you say it's like I'm getting the vibes mid to above average for you? Like you say it's like okay, or do you say it's good?
I think in this, I mean, here's what I would say. I'm sure that it's good for. I mean, Street Fighter's huge, but for my tastes, it's like mid.
Okay,
right? It's definitely not below average. I mean, I think that's fair for both of us. It sounds like, I might have a little more experience, but I haven't played it in a long time, and I don't know. It's fine.
No strong feelings one way or the other. Now, if we were talking about the game on the Super Nintendo, Are You Tough Enough? Then, I mean, masterpiece. That's the other fighting. Speaking of niche fighting games, anyone know that game? No? Okay.
Are You Tough Enough?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not familiar with that at all.
It wouldn't count as a I think it's just a one-off game, and you like fight people moving up this like tower It's set in a dystopian future where like it's the apocalypse or whatever.
Wild.
It was kind of intense. I played this as a kid. And I'm like, this is kind of like, it was kind of like Mortal Kombat, right? It was kind of gritty, kind of bloody or whatever. I'm like, this is kind of intense for my age, but
That's cool.
somehow didn't play much Street Fighter, or Marvel versus Capcom on the arcade was really good. Anyway, I'm just talking about fighting games now. Do you have any experience with Red Dead? The Red Dead franchise?
Yeah, I have experience I have a lot of experience watching somebody play the first Red Dead. And then I have experience playing Red Dead 2, because there was a lot of hype when 2 came out, like a handful of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm going to say, because I'm curious what your experience is before I move on.
Have any experience with Red Dead. The thing that I think about when I see Red Dead is Red Dead Revolver was a game that sat on the shelf in Family Video that I always was curious about renting and never did. That's what I think about when I think Red Dead is Red Dead Revolver sitting on that shelf in a Family Video.
You know, it's funny. I forget about that one.
Yeah.
Because I always forget about that one. I only think of Red Dead Redemption. I forget that there was that first one. So I know very little about that one. Almost nothing. I've seen like somebody talk about it once on YouTube, but it's funny when you say game cases, you know what I think the most of? I think of I don't know if it's DLC of Red Dead Redemption, the first one, but of like the zombie DLC or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Familiar.
There's like a zombie.
There's a zombie like DLC of Red Dead.
I don't even know what they would have called a DLC or like an expansion pack or an add-on, but you could get it separately, and it was the same, because you know that iconic image of like the guy with the gun and he's like looking at it's the same image, but like he's zombified.
Oh, I feel like I have seen that cover. I think I know what you're talking about. That's way
so
back.
I remember seeing that a lot.
Okay.
And thinking, that looks interesting.
I forgot about that.
Here's what I'm going to say about Red Dead 2, though. So my experience with Red Dead 2 is split. And actually, this is funny. This has nothing to do with the Nakey Jakey video about it, by the way, but great video, though.
Okay.
But everything he talks about in his video about it, I don't know if you've seen that video.
I haven't.
But, okay. So Nakey Jakey made a video about it, about how much he simultaneously loves and hates that game. And I didn't realize why I felt the way I did when I played it, because that was my first exposure. So Red Dead 2, I want to praise it for how immersive its world is. It is still, to this day, probably the most immersive game world I've ever played in. It is amazing. It's realistic. It doesn't compromise on its realism. It is ridiculous, right? You can only carry what you can see on your person, like even just, I love like the hunting and all that. It's super cool. But its story, that's actually what he talks about too. So if you want to kind of get how I feel about it, watch his video about it. Its story and its like gameplay elements in terms of choice is super linear, and it completely takes you out of the immersion, because everything else in the world outside of the story is like do whatever you want. And then as soon as you follow a mission, you want to do a mission a slightly different way, you fail the mission. Not if you die, just if you go a different direction. I remember there's this one mission, I never beat the game all the way through because I actually got kind of frustrated. But where there was a guy, you're like in a saloon, and there's a guy upstairs that you needed to get rid of one way or another. But I had to go up the stairs into the room and open the door, even though I wanted to go a different way. Can't remember why. But there was another route to get to that room. And I thought, I'm going to sneak around. Right? I'm going to sneak around, climb up the back, come through the window. And I could have done it, because you can exit out that window.
I see.
When I exited the saloon, mission failed. I didn't even die. I just mission failed.
Right.
Start over. You have to. So that was frustrating. But the world is incredible. So for that alone, I would still put it at least above average, if not good. But but I could never put it as a masterpiece, because, at least not for my personal
because it doesn't
tastes.
reward your creativity in the main story.
When everything else does, everything else in the world does, do whatever you want. except when you're actually going through the story. Then all of a sudden, you got to walk up the stairs, open the door, kill the guy. And it happened multiple times. It was just annoying.
I'll put it at the above average. I'll take your lead on that because for me, I never actually played any of them myself. So I'll give you that on above average.
I think that's fair.
Halo. I've only played a little bit of multiplayer of one of the Halo games, probably with you and some of the other guys. But because I wasn't
probably us.
I wasn't an Xbox kid, so I didn't play Halo.
Right, you probably played it with our mutual friend, Jacob. Because he was an Xbox guy. That's probably who we played it with. I bet because we hung out for a while, and because I remember we would hang out with him. We'd play like Battlefront, also like the old Battlefronts.
Battlefront,
I think we played some Halo too.
I like Battlefront.
So, and that's funny because Battlefront I have very little experience with. So Halo, I do have experience with. I was kind of a Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo guy, so I kind of had it all. Halo, though, itself, it's funny. I didn't play it at the beginning. I didn't play it when it was like the massive hit that it became at the beginning.
Yeah.
I got into it around like Halo 3, and that was which is still by many considered to be like the best one. And I got into it because I had some mutual friends who were in it, and they did a lot of like LAN parties, an old kind of relic of the past now, and I would go to some of those, and that's where I kind of learned I learned about Halo, like multiplayer and stuff, and it was super fun. And then I played a lot of 4, I played a lot of multiplayer, but I didn't love the campaign of it. Then I also have played 5, and I played Infinite, which was a disappointment across the board. So the series itself has kind of been on a decline, but
that's what I've heard.
My hours spent on it are quite a bit, and I really do enjoy that multiplayer. It's one of that multiplayer in Halo is one of those easy to pick up and kind of difficult to master, one of those kinds in my opinion.
Yeah.
Where anyone can have some fun, and it's not as brutal as, in my opinion, as like if you're brand new to like Call of Duty or something. It's a little less brutal with that. I mean, you still die every 5 seconds if you're like in multiplayer, like online, and you're brand new. But you have a better chance. I think a lot of it has to do with like the gun system. It's a little less complicated. You kind of pick up a gun and you shoot it. A lot of times in Halo, you don't even aim. You don't have an aimer,
hip fire,
or it's not focused on. Yeah, so it's you have a little freedom there, and that for me that works really well, and I've always really enjoyed it. So when it comes to shooters, it's probably the shooter that I'm best at. So I like Halo a lot. Story's great. I'm sure you've heard about the story. That's kind of known for its cinematic story.
Oh yeah. And I think that's back when Halo was like really in its heyday. Is that everyone also like it wasn't just a multiplayer game. It was also a really good story, especially in the early Xbox days, where like having internet as a connection to do multiplayer or whatever wasn't just ubiquitous yet. So you had to have a good story with your shooter game or it wasn't going to be popular. So I think definitely back in what I would call its heyday when it was really new, like you said, the first few games was probably really good. I just wasn't an Xbox kid to play those really good games.
I'm actually replaying through some of the old games now because I have the Master Chief Collection. I was just kind of itching to play them because it's been a long time since I played any of the older games. And it holds up, and now they remastered them too, so like they look beautiful and stuff. I always would recommend Halo the first couple to people. So I would put it at good. It's not my all-time favorite, but I think as an overall experience, I would definitely say good.
We'll stick it in good then. I'm all right with that. The next franchise, Grand Theft Auto.
We both have experience with Grand Theft Auto.
I have experience with specifically Grand Theft Auto Vice City, San Andreas, 4, and 5. Those are the 4 Grand Theft Auto games I have played.
So my 4 are 3, Vice City, San Andreas, and 5. I skipped out on 4, and I don't know why.
4, I played... So I played a bit of Grand Theft Auto 5. I never finished it. I never beat it. I don't know why. I just never did. I don't know if I was just kind of like not in that sort of genre of gaming at the time. I played a little bit of it. Couldn't stand Trevor. I just hated everything about him, and just playing as I just didn't even want to play as him. Like if I had to play a mission as Trevor, I'm like, I don't even want to play Grand Theft Auto now. So like that's the mindset I was in for that game. which is weird. It's super weird because Grand Theft Auto 5 had a lot more going for it that reminded me more of Vice City, which is my favorite Grand Theft Auto. And Grand Theft Auto 4 that I did play all the way through in quite a bit of a second playthrough to do some of the different choices different, is depressing as heck. Like that game is so dark and depressing, and it reminded me the most of San Andreas, which San Andreas was all right, but I didn't play a lot of that. I played a lot of Vice City. I loved Vice City.
See, yeah, Vice City was a great game. Out of that trilogy, like the PS2 era, I played the most San Andreas, and I think that one was because that was like San Andreas actually was my introduction, and then I went back.
Oh, weird.
And San Andreas was which at the time it didn't feel like going back. It just felt like three similar games to me. So I had a ton of fun with them.
I think so. I thought San Andreas was doing a lot of things really different at the time when it was new.
When I was playing at that time, I will be honest, I was mainly I wasn't doing a whole lot of story. I was just having fun, just sandbox fun. I didn't. I guess I did play the story in San Andreas a lot. Anyway, point is though, I guess I liked San Andreas the most because clearly I played it the most, and it was kind of my introduction. And it just felt like at the time it was like this monumental hit. Like San Andreas was the groundbreaking GTA game.
At the time,
more so
really
than the
was.
others before it.
Yeah,
it felt like it. And it really didn't feel like that impactful until 5 for me again. Like, I feel like 4 came out, and it just kind of came out, and then 5 came out, and it, like, changed the world again.
4 was a really huge deal by the numbers, but I kind of agree with you. I feel like most of its cultural impact came from people that played on PC and modded it.
Yeah.
Whereas like Grand Theft Auto 5, most of its impact came from its wildly successful online multiplayer, which Grand Theft Auto 4 did have. 4 had online multiplayer, but it wasn't nearly as robust as 5 came to have.
Which is crazy because 5 is still like it's ridiculous. Isn't that like the number one, like the biggest selling game of all time now? Or
yeah, something like that. It's made so much money. It's sold so many copies, and online is still very popular. And it's its own thing now. It's evolved so much over the years that game has been out. Yeah.
And I guess I want to give Rockstar props because I always like to give Rockstar props for their just immersive world design. There's obviously Red Dead. That's Rockstar.
Yeah.
It's there no one does it like them in my opinion. And you know, they're an example of we're worth the wait. You know, like in a world where like all of these companies are pushing out games, big and small, as often as they can, which a lot of the times kind of starts to cloud the quality. It's at least from my experience, and I've noticed with them, I'm not saying they have a perfect record, but I will say that a lot of times when you take the time and spend 8 years making a game or whatever it is, it's going to be good because they really give it the attention to detail, which a game like that needs. I think they're great games. I'll let you decide where you want it to end up, but
this is the back and forth that I have. I think it belongs in at least good. I don't know that I feel that it's masterpiece though. But I could easily see why someone would say it is because they routinely make hits every time. But my really mixed feelings about 5 for whatever reason and some parts of San Andreas I think just kind of keeps me back, and I don't know if that's because they were so thematically radically different from one another that one is watering down the experience for the other in my brain. So I'm like I think it deserves at least good. I'm hesitant to go to masterpiece for the level of quality Rockstar has assured in all the Grand Theft Auto games so far.
I'm going to let you leave it at that because you've got more experience with the older stories than I do, it sounds like. So I'll take your word for it. I think from what you're saying, good is like a perfect spot for it.
And if it were up to me, it'd be above Halo if we want to split those hairs. But that's if it were up to me.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Put it up above Halo.
All right, I'll do that.
I think overall, I've put more time into Grand Theft Auto than I have Halo. So for that alone, I think I'll give it that.
I'm kind of curious on this next one for you, the Mass Effect series. Did you play any of it?
Take a guess. Do you think I have, or do you think I haven't?
I feel like you haven't, or I can't think of you ever talking about it.
Yeah, I have never. I know virtually nothing about Mass Effect.
Then that's going to go into the never played for both of us. Mass Effect is one I'm very interested in playing, but never have.
Me too.
So
talk about a good story game, right? That's what it's all about, right? It's all about the narrative. Isn't that a huge element of it?
It's a huge narrative game. And then the big thing that was super revolutionary at the time, or maybe not revolutionary, but really cool, was that like between the different games, if you had your saves from the previous game, your decisions you made in the previous game could be carried over to your next game for all 3 games.
Oh.
So, yeah. And if you didn't have your saves,
That's cool.
I think they could ask you a few questions like, oh, what would you do in this scenario? Okay, we'll base your game off of that decision then. So I think you could pick up if you didn't play the other games.
That's cool.
But if you did, you could literally carry over your saves decisions in the previous games.
Huh.
So that was a really big thing. I remember hearing that Mass Effect 3's ending is subpar, but I couldn't tell you here or there about it because I haven't played them.
Right.
But I'm very interested in playing them. I think my brother picked up the trilogy remastered for super cheap, I think recently, so I might have to snipe that.
I would love for you to report back because I'm interested in that myself.
The Sims as a franchise.
We both have a shared love of The Sims.
I love The Sims. I'm
curious what you're thinking, though.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where we want to put it on the list, though. So, like, The Sims, for me, I did play a bit of Sims 1. I did play a bit of Sims 2 on the PC. My introduction to the Sims series was The Sims 1 on PC at my cousin's house. She had The Sims. And I remember goofing around, typing in Rosebud and making a house.
Yeah.
But my first experience owning a Sims game was The Sims 1 for like the PlayStation 2. And I played The Sims 1 on PlayStation 2, Sims 2 on PlayStation 2, Sims Bustin' Out on PlayStation 2. Lots of console Sims games, never the popular ones like Castaway or Medieval or whatever. On PC, The Sims 3 was my shiz. I discovered that at your house.
Yes.
And I still play The Sims 4 from time to time.
What a memory.
Yeah, I played the crap out of The Sims 3 at your house when I discovered that for the first time.
Yeah. Quick story. Weston was the first friend of mine to not just spend the night, but spend the night and then stay the next day until the night again.
I don't think I made it all the way. I don't think I made it all the way to the night. I was at your house and you had to leave for whatever you were doing. I don't even remember.
Okay.
So it's me at the house with your mom. You left.
Well, my memory's different.
That's what I remember.
Okay.
And it's like, well, I guess I better pack up and head out of here.
Okay, well, who knows? My memory doesn't always serve me the best, but I could have swore it was you spent the night, you stayed over, and then it was well into the late afternoon, early evening. Then it's like, well, Alex, I better get going. And the reason why you were there so long is because we were just hanging out. And I remember where you were sitting with my laptop, and you were playing The Sims 3. And that's where West Cloud happened and all that stuff and all those fun memories.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that, maybe at least I did at the time, but I forgot that was your kind of first real dive into Sims 3.
Yeah, that was my first dive into Sims 3. I was obsessed with it. I still think The Sims 3 is my favorite Sims game. There's a lot I like about 4, but there's a lot I miss about 3. So I really wish I could take the few things I love about 4 and just drag them over to Sims 3, and that would be awesome.
Totally agree. And you and I have talked about this actually extensively a lot. I remember when you came down to visit me in Tennessee, we talked about this. And so my experience goes back farther. I've got a crap ton of experience with Sims 1. I won't go into details because that could be a whole story on its own on how I discovered the game and all that stuff. But crap ton of 2, crap ton of 3, the least amount on 4. And it's the same reason I wanted 4 to be more like 3. There was so much that was taken away. It just feel like a setback. And I remember you told me that because I think you played 4 before me. And then I got it and I thought, I think Weston's being a little harsh. Let me try it. I remember thinking that. And then I played it and I felt it was the same. Everything that I expected was basically gone. There was some cool relationship stuff in 4. But honestly, 4, I have so little experience. I really don't even have much to say about it.
I like 4, but the things that you would have loved the most about 3 are just not what 4 does. 4 is more like, imagine 3 didn't exist. 4 is basically Sims 2, the sequel, basically.
Exactly. 3 was so open and cool. I don't know. We don't have to get into it. That could be a whole episode, to be honest, because I agree with you with everything about it. I will say my favorite is stuck between 1 and 3. 1's partially because of
nostalgia.
I don't know, nostalgia, and you know, it was my favorite game.
1 did have a charm to it, and the music is an earworm.
Oh, hey, you're gonna hear it here first. That's a VGM quest coming up.
Ooh,
it's going to be the music to Sims 1.
That is such a good VGM quest topic. That's such a good one.
So that is coming up this year. So I'm super excited about it. So yeah, the thing about 1, I don't have to get into it. I might do a Sims episode with you, though, now I'm thinking about it. But the thing about 1 is that it was such a different vibe than the other ones. The music was totally different, by far the best in the whole series, in my opinion. Had the most personality. It kind of captured kind of like this weird era of Americana that like it was kind of rooted in something that the other games, when the other games became more like just a Sims universe, it developed its own personality, which is fine. It was just different. Anyway, there's something special about that game. And
Sims was like 50s,
however,
50s, I think, Americana, something. One of those decades. Yeah.
It was like 50s or 60s mixed with Sims universe and modern, because there was modern tech. Like
for the time,
big like for the tech, or for the time, yeah. So, but it was a weird hybrid, but it was just super cool vibe and feel. Now, I don't know. I mean, like, where are you thinking? I know we're up at either good or masterpiece.
Yeah, I want to say for sure the thing that conflicts me on this is the EA-ification of The Sims has gotten worse and worse over the years. Back when it was just Maxis and they weren't owned by EA Games, that was when The Sims was hitting. That's when it was hitting.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's getting more monetized and it's getting sloppier and it's just... I think for the sake of where The Sims has been, I want to put it in masterpiece and say that, like, for everything that The Sims quintessentially is masterpiece. If you can exclude the EA-ification of all of its monetization and more recent silly decisions that they've been making. Maybe this would change in a Sims 5 scenario if they really drop the ball. I'm going to say we just can't put the franchise there anymore. But at this time, I'm thinking maybe it's a masterpiece series right now.
Yeah. I think given its current track record, it's got more good than bad going on.
Yeah, it's got a lot. Yeah.
I would put it up there. I think above Grand Theft Auto and Halo, like if you look at it that way, I would certainly personally, for my tastes, put The Sims above Grand Theft Auto and Halo. So, just personally.
And honestly, no other game franchise out there exists that does what The Sims does, even at the same level or better. Right. So, like no one's making life sims like The Sims does. So, there are life sims out there, but they're doing something else. The Sims has its spot.
And it's not like Sims 4 is a bad game, because it's not. It's really good at what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
I think it's when you're looking at it in the context of what we came from, especially for older fans like us, that's where it becomes kind of dicey.
This next one, Castlevania. Do you have any Castlevania experience?
No, I'm going to say no. I think like maybe when I was like 4 on like the Super Nintendo or something, but like realistically, no. I don't own any Castlevania games, and What about you?
I'm willing to put that in never played. I don't remember playing any Castlevania games. I've seen the genre. I think that's just something I didn't grow up with. Never really had the chance.
I will say music is incredible. If you like that kind of like this classic kind of like Eastern European kind of like classical, like it's really good music. I'll just put it that way.
Resident Evil as a franchise. Thoughts about that? I didn't play very much.
Very little.
Yeah, I was going to say very little for me on this one too, because it's the horror genre, and that wasn't my genre growing up.
No, me neither. I don't know if I've ever actually played one. I've seen people play it. I'm very familiar with it because I know it's one of the biggest horror like game franchises ever.
It's huge.
And so I definitely know about it, and I know a lot about the games just from hearsay. Like I know that the remake of 4 was like huge. I think it was 4.
Yeah, well, that one, and they remade another one that was really big. Well, I don't remember what it was.
But anyway, it's still going strong. But for me, I would put it under never played because. But I mean, like
I'll
I
put it
figured if I
there.
played them and I was into horror, it would go up. But
The little
I
bit
just don't know
that
much
I have
about it.
played of one of them, and I don't know which one it was. I feel like it was 2 or 3. I didn't get very far because honestly, the game was literally too dark on my TV screen that I couldn't see what was going on half the
Yeah.
time anyway, and it was kind of unplayable. And that's not Resident
Right.
Evil's fault. That's just that's the way it was.
Right, sure.
I'm not familiar with the King of Fighters. Do you know that franchise at all?
I haven't even heard of that.
All right, that's going in never played.
Must be a fighting game, yeah.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
What do you know about Mortal Kombat? We talked about it a little bit when we were talking about Street Fighter. Is it? I've played a little bit of Mortal Kombat. I've actually played more Mortal Kombat than Street Fighter. I actually had Mortal Kombat versus DC, I think is what it was. Mortal Kombat versus DC. So you could be like,
Oh, yeah.
you could
Yeah.
like fight as Batman and take on Raiden and fight each other. And it's like, okay, that's a thing.
Yeah.
So I played that quite a bit.
That's cool. Yeah, I've played it. I have a couple on the PS2. I played them. And that makes sense because at the time I liked it because it was like edgy and violent, and I owned it and it was cool.
Yeah.
And then like as I've gotten older, like I don't really play Mortal Kombat at all anymore. The last one I played was 10 or X when that came out, and I think
Okay.
that was even quite a few years ago now.
Because was that the one that was kind of controversial because like you could pay real life money in microtransactions to do fatalities? I remember hearing about that. I'm like,
I've heard it, yeah.
That's terrible. That's not good.
Yeah, it's rough. I will say from Street Fighter, I've definitely played more of it. And that's just more of a fun game to play with your friends. That's how I kind of look at it. I almost don't really look at it as like a take it seriously fighting game as much as I do. Just have fun button mashing with your friends. I don't know. I mean, I guess between the two, for that alone, I'd put it above Street Fighter.
Because I didn't
guess.
have a lot of Street Fighter experience. So I'm with you that I would put it above Street Fighter. Is it still mid or is it above average? What do you think?
I guess
I could kind of see it
for the amount of fun I've had,
either way.
I think above average is fine, but
Okay.
I'd put it underneath Red Dead.
It gets just to the above average. For me, if it were like Virtua Fighter, it would be above Mortal Kombat, but we didn't see that.
Right.
All right, well, we went through quite a few games here, but we are running short on time today, Alex. So I think we'll put a stop in there. There
That's all right.
are a lot more franchises for us to go over. This Virtua Fighter.
Oh my gosh, you
there
should
it
just
is.
save this one and just
I can save this.
We'll get there.
This one's got
You
like
should
a
save this
zillion,
one.
so we'll have to come back to this list as well on another video game episode.
Oh yes! Oh my gosh! I just saw one of my favorite all-time franchises that I don't think anybody talks about anymore. At the bottom, but I'm not going to say what it
okay.
is.
We'll have to keep working through this list. We'll do
So
some more.
you have to bookmark
We'll
this.
do some more video game related episodes in the future. We only went through like 10 of them, and there's like how many are in this one? There's 300 in this one, so this could keep us busy for a long time.
Oh, perfect! This is great.
So we'll put in a stop
Love it.
there for today. I know we have a lot to say about each franchise, and we're just talking our memories, but that's what I like. I like seeing these things that spark like memories, and we just talk about. It's not about slamming through these. It's about like the conversation. So I think we got through some good ones there.
Yeah.
Even if 4 of them were ones that we had never actually played.
That's okay. We got a lot to say, and we love games. So
As we're wrapping up our episode, before you all go, I would like to remind you that if you haven't already subscribed, followed, 5-starred, favorited, or any of those things that you can do on whatever podcasting platform you're listening to us on, you should do that. And of course, if you were listening to us and not watching us, just a little reminder that if you want to watch us, you can do so on YouTube and Spotify. The video is available there. Once again, we have mentioned it a couple times, but patreon.com/profoundish to help support the show. If you want to throw a buck or two our way, you can do so and get access to behind-the-scenes footage. If you want more from either of us personally, Alex, where can we find you?
you can find me and everything I do at alexduquette.net. It's my landing page for everything I do. I stole Weston's exact line because it's so easy to it's perfect. It is my landing page. But you can check me out there, or you can also check me out straight on YouTube. You can just type in my name once again, Alex Duquette. I'm gonna do a direction one more time. I've been doing it for a few weeks now because this is my marketing ploy to get people to watch VGM Quest. But I just recently put out a video covering the Super Mario 64 soundtrack and why it's special all these years later. And it's a nice, long, in-depth music analysis on the soundtrack. So go check that out. That's called VGM Quest. Weston, what about you?
I have a website, westonhasty.com. If you want to go check out all the things I do, they're all listed there. If you want to just say hi to me on Twitter, it's at Weston Hasty. If you want to watch me play video games like we were doing today, I have a channel called Magic Man Mo on YouTube. I don't really do magic tricks, but that's my name. Magic Man Mo on YouTube. If you would like to read some of my haiku, I just released a book called Smiling for the Sky. On Amazon. So you can get that in paperback or Kindle forms. Look for Smiling for the Sky on Amazon. That's it for our show. Thank you all so much for listening. And until next time. All right.